Recognizing that we are now all here, thank you everybody for coming this evening. It is 5:54 p.m. and I am calling this meeting to order. Trevor, could you take a roll call for us, please?
Yes, Jeff Canberra,
Present.
Terrell Gamble, Marcus Crawley, Andrea Dawson,
Here.
Benjamin Scott,
Present.
Cole Sexton.
Present. Thank you. That means we have a quorum and can proceed. The next item is an action item, approval of the meeting agenda. If there are no changes or if there are changes proposed, please let us know. Otherwise, can I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
And the vote, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, there's four of us, we can be four of us. So that's unanimous.
Yeah.
Okay, approval of some minutes. The first one goes all the way back to September 11th of 2024. I don't know if it's your memory, but mine wasn't all that good and I was there. So we can do these together if people can take a quick look at both of them. If there are corrections to any of them, we can take those corrections now. Give everybody a second. Actually, while people are scanning them, I would like to change for the February 12th minutes so that the way that they're written out, it kind of looks like we just didn't cover items 5, 6, 7, and 8. And actually what happened at that meeting, once we got Amy's presentation, Cole had to leave, and so that would have meant that we would no longer have a quorum. So if we could, after item number 4, change the language to say something along the lines of Member Sexton needed to leave the meeting, which would reduce the number of members needed for a quorum to below that amount, and the meeting was adjourned. That way it doesn't look like we just missed all 4 of them. So
Is that an amendment? What is that?
that's a suggestion at this point.
So if there,
So you're
if
making
the
an
corrections are minor or uncontroversial, then they're generally accepted just by general consent. There's no
Yeah.
formal
Okay.
vote needed. It's just if there's back and forth.
Okay, consent.
Yeah.
Consent.
Yeah, well, actually, this is called an action item, so at least from the agenda, we do need to vote, so.
Right, but you'll do that once you go through all of them.
Right, I see,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah, so are there any other corrections, clarifications to the minutes? Okay, and Shinobu, do we basically have the language that I,
You said Member Sexton have to leave the meeting and no longer have quorum.
yeah, and so we had the quorum, and so we had to adjourn the meeting, so I think we would then maybe strike out items 5, 6, 7, and 8,
Okay.
and then leave change the numbering, so 9 would be adjourned. Okay, and with that, not hearing any other suggestions, can I have a motion to approve both the September 11th minutes and the February 12th minutes?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous, they are approved. That bit of business is out of the way. All right, item number 4, public comment. Do we have anybody online? Actually, how would we know? Would there be a little,
There'll be. There are no participants.
that one participant is the,
It's me.
Oh,
it's
you.
the group.
oh, it's the group, okay. All right, then we no longer need to have a public comment. Moving on to item number 5. Actually, it's like, we'll call it 4.5. Presentation of the proposed 23-24 annual report. This is an action item. There was a report from Andrea and the committee in there. So Andrea, this is yours.
Well, so are you able to pull it up? There we go.
There we go.
Okay, So I guess we can just move through it quickly, but basically, this is the 23-24 report, because we're always in 1 year of arrears of doing the compliance statement, basically, that's required of the Citizens Bond Oversight Committee. So, I use the same format, reformatted for me, and I use the same format that we used the previous year and in 2020. 2 and 23, and so moving forward, the next slide. So I don't believe anything changed on this slide. It's the same as previous year. This is a new statement, and mainly what changed in this statement is in the last paragraph, that the final apportionment of the Measure A funds, January 2026, all Measure A funds were exhausted or have been expended. The capital improvement projects under Measure A were for the acquisition, construction, repair, refurbishment, equipment upgrading, and modernization of classrooms, campuses, buildings, facilities, and grounds throughout the Peralta CCD. So that's what was added, so, to the statement. So if you have any comments while I'm doing this, just let me know. Okay, so then I really just would keep going. I picked, with the help of Amy Marshall, thank you, slides from one from each campus. And it basically is what happened during that year, 2023, 2024. And so we have slides there. And then we have the CBOC members, the current CBOC members and the CBOC members that were seated on the fiscal year 2023, 2024. Activities, they're essentially the same as previous year, so there's nothing really new here. And then what's new here is more work on the website. Thank you, Benjamin, for helping with that year. We'll see. It's like 2 years ago we're talking about, you know?
It was mostly Marcus.
Well,
Our
it
chair.
was you too, I remember that, anyway, so, and thanks to Jeff and Marcus too. So, and then, Jill Broadhurst resigned, Harold Campbell, can you stay on that slide just for a minute?
Okay.
Thank you, so, and I think the big thing on this is developing a work and introducing a yearly work plan guide. So was an accomplishment of that year. And at the same time, Paul and I attended one ribbon cutting or shovel in the ground, and that was at the Sylvia Street new building projects. And then, the committee concerns really around that year were about the Brown Act requirements and the ramifications of violating them at several meetings. So I just felt we needed to state that, because if anybody ever went back in the tapes, they would see a lot of that. So then moving forward, thank you. And then this is the program cost update. And it's just numbers if any taxpayers are interested, or the board. This is expenditures, and it's as of 7/15/24, because that's when the reports come out. So, and then just a little recap of who changed in leadership, and then Mel Wilkerson came this year, and Greg Nelson, and Amy Marshall, and now serves as Director of Capital Projects. So this is just a little recap of who's doing what within the district. And I did make the statement about AECOM too, because I know they're the program managers. We had the presentation of the financial and performance audits, and the district again received good audit reports, and so there were clean audits, and the district is in compliance with Ed Code and the regulations. So, in the last slide, I think, there's one more in there. And so there's our statement of compliance, and it says, you know, basically, to the best of our knowledge and for the information that was given to us, that the district is in compliance with regulation and the California Constitution. So, and I think that's the last slide, isn't it?
That is the last slide, yes.
So,
We have
Comments?
fulfilled our duty.
yeah. So is there any changes or comments or corrections? And I will say thank you very much to Amy Marshall for catching a few typos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Andrew, I have one question. Do the actual financial performance audits ever get attached or linked to,
Well,
actually
Oh, let's
linked?
go back to that, because that was actually one of the things that we did ask for. So I guess that would be the only correction to this.
Or addition?
Update.
Or, yeah,
Yeah, just
Yeah.
links so they would be able to.
yeah, we just have the link.
Okay.
See, it says, is that?
Because
can
it's
you
there.
click- Is it there?
It-
Can you
yeah.
Is that-
click
is that
will
actually-
work?
Oh, ha, 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 ha.
So I think that's the only thing, is if
Right.
it could go directly to the audit.
Yeah, so that audit is on the BMOC website. It's
Okay.
already there, so that, I think that link just needs to be fixed.
Great, so that way if the public wanted to, they think we did our job, they can review all those and
Right.
do it. Okay, excellent presentation. I'd like to thank you guys. This is a tremendous amount of work to put one of these together. And if I recall right, Cole, you laid the foundational work, right?
You guys both did a great job. It was
Yeah.
very professional, so thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
It looks
Just
really
show up and
nice.
vote on it, so thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
want to especially acknowledge the architecture, the technology underneath this, to be able to hang the nice wording that is on that, so.
It's a nice resume stuffer.
There you go. For you,
Need it?
for you.
Yeah, need it, right?
I'm retired now. I'm looking for a
Really?
part-time job, and I'm actually dead
Yeah.
serious, but I am
All right.
retiring.
At whatever
Can you
law,
market management?
whatever law firm I apply to, got it.
It's actually good.
Yeah.
No, it is.
Thank
So I guess we have to, I suggest we officially accept this and then ask for it to be scheduled for the fall, probably, to be presented to the trustees, correct?
So we don't need to vote on whether it's presented, I think that just gets done. But I think we should accept this though for sure, and then
Right.
it will go to the presentation to the district board. So I think at this
I
point,
think you and I probably should do it then.
Yeah.
Make a motion to approve the annual, the BMOC annual report presentation as presented for 2023 through 24.
mhm.
Should not be second, right?
As a
Sorry.
president, I'm not really supposed to.
second.
second.
Okay,
Second.
because they wrote it though, so I don't know.
I don't know
Well,
that
here's the-
I'm not sure there's a conflict of interest.
Really?
I wrote it, he put the format together.
Oh, okay, so
So
you
it's
got
okay.
second.
Second.
Just
Yeah.
saying, you know, conflict of interest.
Yeah,
you know.
I'm not sure what the,
I know,
yeah,
I know.
whatever it be, but anyway, you know,
Yeah.
understand. Anyway,
Just
so we
looks
have a second.
clean, you know, nice and clean.
Yes, we have a second.
Yeah.
All right, and, okay, so, the motion is to accept the annual proposed 23-24 annual report. And we have a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? It passes.
And I would like to say for the record, I think that the district did change our title to the Citizens Bond Oversight Committee. I
When?
believe that's what I saw.
What was it?
Amy, Bond Measure Oversight Committee. I see,
But we're only citizens,
we have always been the Citizens Oversight Committee,
but not.
but
Really.
that is the state's name for it, but Peralta had it as the bond measure. And I noticed on the website that it has been changed, and I thought, oh, that's good. Because that's what everyone recognizes as part of the statute.
Right,
Yeah,
right,
so thank you, whoever did that, so.
Greg. I mean, right, Greg's the one who got it. And I'll just do a little side point of order so when you're making a motion, anyone, even if you were the author of the report, can make the motion. They can be the maker of the motion, because it's all that's doing is the moving and the seconding is bringing it to the table for discussion.
Okay.
And so it's really so anyone can be the maker.
So if there was a conflict, it
Even
wouldn't
if
make
there
any
was- no.
difference on the motion part of it, it would be on the voting part.
Yeah, and that would be only if they needed to, for some reason, not vote on it. But really, the maker is just bringing it to the table for the vote. Yeah, so there's no conflict there.
There is, interesting.
Yeah.
Thank you, that's helpful.
Yeah, but you did it swell just anyway.
Okay. So it was unnecessary.
Okay, so moving from 4.5 to 5, this is we've had this a couple of times, but this is the final form, the proposed procedures. This is an information only item, so we don't need to vote on it, and it's just to get some feedback on the provisions. They are in numbered order and cold. This was something that, I know you and I worked on, but you were gonna do the kind of official presentation.
Yeah, which, we don't have it up there. Did we have?
It would, you just gotta click on the link.
We're here.
No,
Report.
draft on the right-hand side, down,
Where?
right,
We're here.
there you go.
And those should be in your notes.
Yep, right, all 3 pages.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, just to put this all succinctly, this was just a proposed document of the quorum for, the BMOC or the CBOC as we are now. I see that has BMOC here, this is what I put at the time. So are we doing this point by point or just?
Probably should, yes, it'd be
Okay.
easier for, you could take our notes then.
Okay. Number one, I don't want to read each one verbatim, but kind of to just get the BMOC agenda will be posted.
Which we've been doing.
Yeah, which we've all been doing. It has been done by the staff, so that's already been done. Number two, paraphrasing, any questions like about bylaws, codes of conduct, Robert's rules. There should be kind of a parliamentarian here, someone that I think the meetings really got in line when we had the vice chancellor here, Miss Marshall is doing.
Great,
Is doing for us today. So that really helps out. Number three, the BMOC has prepared a checklist of requirements which will need to be met by BMOC members to appear remotely. So if we go to this page on the back, the third page, this is the checklist that is, so that there is no question, or you can question it, because you have a brain. You can go through and just see, okay, are all of these criteria being met for you to appear remotely during a meeting, if you can't attend in person. So that's number three. Number 4, only the actual agenda will be provided as hard copies at the physical location of the BMOC meeting. So if you're not here, you're missing out. I don't see necessarily why something can't be provided virtually. We make they can live both digitally and physically and just be sent to the remote meeting members. I believe this is more so pertaining to any members of the public who join meetings. So agenda list won't be made prevalent to them. Number 5, written reports of subcommittee activity are required in order to be considered for the inclusion on the agenda and need to be submitted on the Wednesday before the BMOC meeting in order for the district staff to prepare them for the agenda. So just keeping tidy, orderly. The staff here for also has been doing a great job of that. Genova, Mark, when he's here, that, the meeting minutes are being taken care of. We get a typo every now and again, but you're not a stenographer. You're a person with pen and paper. So that's to be expected. Number 6, opportunities for the public to comment on BMOC agenda items want to be available to. So, all right, this is question. Oh, no, you were there.
After
Okay.
you finish, I do
Okay.
have a question.
Yeah, so if you're a member of the committee, you are not a member of the public. You can't be one and the same. So if you want to make a comment, there are procedures for committee members to make a comment, to be recognized by the chair during that time, but you can't try to say that, well, I'm a member of the public, so I want to make a comment. That's not how that works. Got your question.
So my question is does this board have e-comments or can people get online to attend a board meeting and make a comment?
Yeah, via Zoom.
No, I mean via
For
Zoom,
the Peralta board,
for the Peralta board.
so you have to be in person if you're gonna make a public comment.
Okay, so I just wanted us to follow along the same because a lot of districts, it's not, you don't have to be in person. You can sign up.
Right, and ever since
That's
they
fine.
made everyone come back, so you can watch the board meeting live, but public comments you have to be here in person.
Yeah, I just want this to follow. Yeah.
Right, because I know that's being vetted, like, throughout the state in certain districts, like whatever the body is, they're not taking public comment over the internet or like through Zoom or whatever public chat that they just to cut down on, let's put it bluntly, racism and anti-Semitism and all other forms of hate speech and discriminatory verbal abuse.
So I can make before I forget, not a comment, but for Shinova, could we in the future on the agenda, could we say in-person public comment, just so we really emphasize the fact that,
Okay.
yeah, I just think it would be a good idea, that it'd be something for us to point to if somebody says, well, how come we couldn't do this?
Mm.
And it's,
Yeah.
we always say it's consistent with this, but the agenda also says in person.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Oh,
That could be part of our template for the future. Sorry.
yeah, no problem. For each agenda listen, one person will be assigned to do the presentation, as we just had a glorious example by Ms. Dawson who did that. So that is pretty clear. Let's see. That one is, we'll go ahead and cover those paragraphs. They're not numbered. Before proceeding, numbers 8 and 9. For action items, once the presentation is made, each committee member will be given one opportunity to ask clarifying questions. So just using from our past meetings, it got chaotic when giving a presentation on something or discussing a topic, and it was just a lot of roundabout conversation and back and forth. And I wanted to find a way to cut through that so that we could keep an orderly meeting and have a conducive conversation. So, those paragraphs under 7, for action items, and for discussion items, those go in depth about how we would do that moving forward.
Yeah.
So yeah, not to just dive into it.
Yeah, and I think the clarification just kind of gets lost is there's 2 sets of discussions on any agenda item. One is clarifying questions only. That isn't the debate part,
Right.
which we've kind of mixed them all together in the past. So it would be questions only first. Everybody gets their shot. If there's still more, you could go around a second time. And then we cut off the questions and then go into the actual discussion piece.
Right. With a 5-minute time limit. So if we were to invest in a minute glass, or something of the matter, or have a timer, so that it's just not one person rattling off a bunch of line items that they've typed up prior to a meeting and just keep talking about it and thusly taking away time. Number 8, committee members are encouraged to fully, efficiently participate in the committee's work by reviewing the materials prior to the meeting. Frankly, do your homework before coming to the meeting. The materials are made available if you're working on the subcommittee. Obviously, you'll be working with yourself or with another committee member on that, and you make that information privy to the rest of the committee. Number 9, each committee member will have the opportunity to be recognized and speak within the structure outlined above, interrupted, so as to not cause arguments or have tension within meetings. Everyone has a voice, everyone's voice is recognized, everyone's viewpoint is respected, even if there is disagreement. So the point of this is just to state your piece in the time limit and then move on from it. We had times where we motioned to end the discussion, and once that's done, it's deaded, we moved on, and we proceed to the next agenda item. So that is pretty much, there any questions about this proposed points of procedure?
So I want to just briefly comment on number 9, and
Yeah.
from the standpoint of the committee chair's role, not my role, just whoever is going to be the committee chair.
Right.
Because ultimately, whoever decides that something is, if somebody has to decide if the argument is, if the discussion is becoming repetitive with one person, and having to then tell that person, you've already said that you need to move on to the next point. It gets to be an enforcement type action, and I think I'm definitely supporting this, but it's also something you need to be very cautious about as well, because we do want all of our committee members to voice their opinion in civil, respectful, non-repetitive way. Which is why in this provision, because we talked about non-interrupting somebody, so it would be the committee chair's job, if there is a talk over, to stop that conversation and say, you need to wait your turn, whoever it is, and go in that orderly fashion. But that also means then the chair has to interrupt to be able to get it. So I just want to make sure we point out this is kind of an enforcement provision that is for number 9.
So I believe, Jeff, you and I, Chair, we talked about that briefly, and
Yes.
you brought that to my attention. This isn't, it's not supposed to be a mechanism to just hey, look, stop talking about it. It's just to keep the meeting from being reductive, in the sense that you have 5 minutes to make your point. If we move on from that point, if you want to bring it up again on the next go around, that's another 5 minutes that you can attribute to that. It's not necessarily for the chair to say, you can't talk about this ever again during the meeting. Just know that if you want to run the clock of 5 minutes about talking about the same point, you're more than welcome to do that. But just know that once you hit that 5 minute limit, we are moving on.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
So for this provision though, if you make that point in the first 5 minutes, and then you try to make the exact same point in the second 5 minutes, a chair would be able to say, we've heard that point, you have made that point before, you need to move to a new point. That's when we talk
Yeah.
about repetitive.
Right, well, but that can still prove to be a little bit controlling of a,
Squishy? Squishy, yes.
of a committee member's speech. So again, I don't want to, like, this is meant to just bring a decorum to like move on to the next, so that we're not hung up. Look, if you want to rant on again and again about, funds in Measure G, how much are left, whatever the case might be, you can, but just know that we'll recognize, you'll be recognized, but we're going to keep moving through the meeting.
Right.
So it's not for the chair to tell a person that they cannot speak about a certain topic, but to just know that if the clock is running and we are at the end of the meeting at 6:59, then, you got 1 more minute and then we're moving on.
Yeah, also the committee has the opportunity to make a motion to end discussion too.
Correct.
Which is something I didn't know about before, so whether the president does it or the chair does it or whatever, there's also another mechanism as well,
Yes.
which I think we've used that once already.
Yeah. As one of the vice chancellor was here and made that, made us all aware of that.
Yes.
That moved that meeting along, albeit there was tension, but it moved the meeting along.
Move the meeting along. Okay, so Andrew, you have a comment?
So that's kind of my comment. So 2 things. So maybe that should be added to this. That as part of the point of procedure, just so if this is going to be like something that you can always refer to in the future, for operating this committee, that is the plan to put this on as an item for adoption for the next meeting? Is that the idea?
So I guess I'm going to ask, these wouldn't be bylaws, we wouldn't put them in as bylaws, so what is the other, I always think of house rules, but that's,
Proposed standards of conduct.
proposed standards of conduct?
Right, because much of what you're speaking of are, like in Robert's Rules of Order, they have rules for debate, right? And so much of the things that you're talking about already, setting a time limit, those are all things that are permitted under Robert's Rules. And so I think really it is just the
Taking it to
standards of
plain
conduct.
English, right?
Exactly, so it's really, as you say, just standards of conduct for the committee.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I just, what's your point of clarification? So it says in number 3, as noted above, any question regarding committee member participation will be resolved by the parliamentarians. My first question is, who's the parliamentarian?
When I had composed this, I was thinking of the vice chancellor at the time. I could be wrong if he can serve in that capacity, but just someone who could advise the committee on Robert's rules if they're not clear to committee members. Because I'll be the first to say, coming on, it will probably behoove future committee members to have like a boilerplate tutorial of like Robert's rules, what you can and can't do, and just someone who can advise to keep meetings from going off the rail.
So they're not here tonight. When I was on the open record, we were given, when we started,
Yes.
we were given a binder, which you were supposed to bring to the meeting. Of course, people didn't. But there was an abbreviated Robert's Rules for certain sections like this that we were given so that we could all refer to it, so that there wasn't any question. Because people's interpretation of Robert's Rules was also very different.
Yeah.
So that was the other thing. So anyway, that's just another idea.
Well, yeah, I think one of the things that was put in, because there actually at previous meetings, there were questions from committee members about interpretation of Robert's Rules of Order and who resolves that between to, well, I think it says this, I think it says that, so the designated parliamentarian would at least pull it out of an argument that the committee members were having.
The issue that he's saying is the vice chancellor is not here tonight.
Not here.
Right, so I'm serving in his stead, so I think that normally, right, so I'm the director of capital projects, so when he's not here, then I'm here to support.
So,
But I think that that's something that you, so technically anybody could serve as the parliamentarian.
So the question, so you're saying that, I'm just at a point of clarification.
Yeah.
Through the chair.
Yes,
Okay, so the question is, are you saying that anytime the district is in the room, that there's always going to be one person that knows Robert's rules?
I'm saying that, so
So
from
you
my
do.
perspective, right, that there should be either the vice chancellor should be here or I should be here, like one of us should be here. I mean, that is
For time immortal?
yes.
Okay, so
yeah.
that's great. So the parliamentary will be somebody from the district.
So
yeah,
I,
which is what it says, but yeah, mostly it's the person is knowledge, it has to be
Right.
knowledgeable, that's what we're
Right.
looking for, yeah.
Right,
yeah, so.
Yeah.
You could change this wording a little bit to include the vice chancellor or their designated.
Or does it need?
right.
Their designee. But the thing
I'm
is,
sorry. Go
it's
ahead.
basically emailed to, I mean, basically, you have to add a little language in here that they basically are acting as a parliamentarian. In other words, they need to know the rules. So if it's a vice chancellor, just say he doesn't know the rules, but they do, so.
The vice chancellor rarely shows up.
Right, but it has to be
What
his
did you say?
designated
The vice
or his
chancellor.
designee.
I just
Or
didn't
his
hear,
designee.
I wasn't making any commentary or anything, because if we have,
Or his designee.
concerns, we can make sure that if it's someone from the district who's supposed to be the parliamentarian, then we can make sure that that person, like that we're supporting in the way that we need to support. So for instance, when Mark Johnson used to be here, like come regularly, he knows, right, he's very good at Robert's rules as well, right? And so I think that however the committee feels would be the best, then we can make sure that the support is here. So if there's a need, if it's the will of the committee to have a parliamentarian from the district here to support, then we can make sure, right, that either I'm here or I do have experience with Robert's rules. But, right, and so I think, and the committee can talk about the best way, because again, when it comes to Robert's rules and any discussion that's going on with them, the person who would be helping resolve that issue would only be talking about the parliamentarian process part of it, not about the actual content of the discussion
Yes.
that's happening.
Correct.
Yeah,
I
that's
would,
Go ahead, go ahead.
I just would like to add, I wouldn't want to get into the technicality of like naming a specific person's title, like the vice chancellor, just someone who can serve in that capacity.
Okay.
Because if it's just saying like the vice chancellor, just for argument's sake,
Sure.
I could put forth and say, well, I don't think that person is as
Got an
knowledgeable.
idea then.
Okay.
District parliamentarian, just put the word district.
Okay, all
No,
right.
wait,
yeah.
no, but it does say by the district designated parliamentarian. It puts the onus on the district to select item number 2 will be answered by the district designated parliamentarian.
Okay, so you.
And so
Okay.
if we don't like it,
It's
we
all
get to
there.
blame the
No,
district.
no, it's all there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I just don't want to
Yeah,
make
yeah,
it
yeah.
like one person's
Right.
like their responsibility. It's whomever can do the job. That's-
Yeah, who's qualified to do the job. That's right. Because I don't think any of us at this point sitting at this table have the kind of knowledge necessary to do that. So,
So I have a second part to my
No, go ahead.
question.
yes.
So maybe I have a little clarification to it, but I think it's maybe slightly confusing because there's that part in number 3. And then over in the last page, under remote attendance, it says committee must approve remote attendance by majority. So I guess I'm wondering, is there going to be a conflict between the parliamentarian and the committee approving the remote attendance by majority?
I think that's in there because doesn't one of these, a remote, we have to vote, if it's an emergency, you Let me see if we can find which way it says we get to vote. I thought.
Remote attendance emergency circumstances checklist.
Yeah.
But it
Where's
says
the
committee
one-
must.
Because we have voted
approve
before.
by majority.
By majority, yeah.
So are we gonna get in a fight between the parliamentarian and the committee approving remote attendance by majority? That's what I'm worried about.
Well, so,
I don't see why that would cause conflict,
Well, who gets to,
because
who's controlling that?
that's a vote by the committee. And I mean,
But he just said any,
it's
he just
for
said, as
specific,
noted, any question regarding committee participation will be resolved by the parliamentarian.
Right.
it is, it is.
I'm sorry, you're gonna have a power struggle at some point.
Potentially, but and just consider, I know I'm not part of this conversation, but you might consider the checklist, right? So the checklist it is what it is, right? So you have to meet.
That's the thing, you have to meet the checklist.
Actually, I found it. That vote specifically, if you go to remote attendance, emergency circumstances, the bottom one, that's where we have to vote. The rest of these are automatic, but on one of them for an emergency, I think it's the fourth bullet point down, committee must approve remote attendance by majority. So that's the one time if a person is coming with an emergency excuse, we can decide, we would be voting for that. These other ones, I think, are checklist only, and I'm not sure.
when I took that, that was just, I mean, that's from what's already standing in the telecom rules.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
already,
so
yeah.
that's, that's remote attendance.
See, that's where the vote would, when we were
But-
talking
but
about
I
voting,
think-
that's the only spot where you would vote on a remote.
But to Ben's point, you have to asterisk it or something and basically make it clear that it only applies to one condition
Okay.
What do you mean? Oh, meaning the remote attendance
by emergency.
by emergency.
Yeah.
Mayor, you can ask just one further question, just for clarity. So I think even still, I hear your question. People think, yes, that's an emergency, and the parliamentarian says, no, it's not.
Well,
Is that
that's
what
what
you're
I'm
saying, and then
Jeff, right?
controls.
Well, the thing is, emergency, then you have to go to legislation. And basically, it's a legal thing, what constitutes an emergency.
Right, and so I understand that. I think I was just trying to articulate what I heard his question about.
Sure.
If there were a situation where the parliamentarian was actually ruling on something other than the actual rules, right? So parliamentary procedure, it sounds like in this one instance, it's actually on a decision, not on a process. And so I think that's what I'm hearing.
Yes,
Yeah,
and then, I'm sorry, but I'm gonna bring up Marcus, this is the whole
fine.
district versus committee power struggle.
And I don't think the district wants to be in that
I
position.
understand,
Yeah.
but this is
No, I hear you, right?
the
Because
whole thing.
when everything is good, right, then it's easy to agree. It's,
I
we have to
understand,
think
like
of
we're
the
having
worst,
tonight,
right?
but it's not always gonna, we're not always gonna, actually, none of us are gonna be in the room in like 2 years. Well,
And I'm not gonna be
Us.
there.
Proce-
So,
difference
it's not
between
just about
substance
us.
and procedure. though.
Yes,
So
Yeah.
when I composed this, I was just thinking of, and I understand what you're saying, and
we
I was-
might not
yeah.
even be able to vote if they say no.
okay, well, I was looking at the parliamentarian, the role of the parliamentarian is just to be a reference as to what can be done, not a final say on procedure.
So then can we put in that the committee can vote to overrule the parliamentarian?
Well, that does go back and forth. The committee could vote to do that, but then there are members on the committee that could say that, you know, they could vote against that.
may I make a suggestion?
Yeah. Mhm.
I think it might just be clarity on the wording.
Yeah.
Because I think that the situation is not that the parliamentarian would say about the emergency excuse, but rather about, so substance over procedure, right?
Yeah.
I think it's clarity in the wording that's the issue, right? Because the district is at an arm's length, like we're not, the committee basically operates independently, right? So you wouldn't ever want the district making a decision
No,
for
yeah.
the kitty. And
yeah, right,
so I understand your intent, and I feel like you are like spot on clearing up a lot of these issues. But in this one instance, I feel like it's just this matter of procedure over. And so I think it's just tweaking the wording a tad.
I think so too.
Okay,
Yeah.
I mean, I have no issue with that, and this is not supposed to be, this framing is not meant to be, is like, oh yeah, this is gonna resolve any and all future conflicts. I'm just looking for, I was just looking for a way, because to your point,
Yeah, this is the problem. This has happened before, unfortunately.
oh,
And then votes have been, we've had to go back and revote, and it was a whole thing. So this can
But
happen.
that was a
Sorry.
procedural, but that was a procedural thing that was very, and I think, and back to the substance versus the procedure piece
So
of
how
it.
do you propose to correct this? So
Well,
this doesn't happen again.
So I think the situation though is that, so there, I think there's a big distinction in a parliamentarian making a decision in two of the first two areas. So a physical or family medical emergency that prevents attendance. I think that's a discretionary item that lies with, let me finish, that lies with us.
yeah,
Whether it is or not, a parliamentary, that's not Robert's Rules of Order, this is or isn't an emergency. And yet we may vary, but if we're not going to be violating a Robert's Rules of Order, that would be the thing for me. If you said that will violate Robert's Rules of Order, I believe that would violate the Brown Act. That's what we're looking for, something more substantial. All right, then we can decide. But you know something, we could also say we disagree with you on the emergency provision. Whereas on the other one, member must be connected orally and visually. That's pretty straightforward, that it's either yes, and so if all of us as a committee said, we don't care, I think that's where the parliamentarian can easily come in and say, you just violated section so of the Brown Act. Yeah, so I think, I do understand your point, and maybe we can't, if we can wordsmith this, that's great. If not,
How?
Right.
yeah, well, that's the question.
Right, and that may take a little thinking about it.
For future chairs.
Yeah, and
Yes.
for future everyone, right? And so I think, and here's that's a great example. So someone we say, yep, that's the committee says that is an emergency. Yes, absolutely remote, right? And then they say, well, but I can't have my camera on, right? That's where we have, right? But the committee also knows that, say, oh, snap, right?
But we didn't know it at the time.
Exactly, but,
Yeah.
and right, and it's things that we learn along, right? And so that I think would be the point in where the parliamentarian would say something, but not on something that is
Discretionary.
subject, exactly.
I think it's throwing in there something that says on discretionary, we can wordsmith this out.
yeah,
A little better though about
yeah.
discretionary versus. Yeah, I know, so
Discretion versus
you wanna take a shot at this for next one?
Clarity, just,
That doesn't make any sense to me, sorry.
well,
Sorry, I gotta put it out there.
I mean, I don't know how to.
People have to twist things, just so you know.
I mean, but that's the one reason why we're here. I mean, because people are
Right.
taking.
And I'm not trying to be obstinate, and I wanna throw one more thing in.
All right, so wait, let's then finish this point. So I think this is only an information item anyway, is that,
Yeah,
how about Cole and I take that item back, that particular one, and try and reword it to take into account discretionary types of decisions.
I mean, unless you think that it's just futile to do, I mean, unless you think it's futile to do, I mean, futile, sorry.
Sorry, what is futile?
To try and wordsmith.
No,
it.
try it.
Yes.
I think it's a thing that we should try to fix now
Yes,
for future
yes,
people.
when there isn't
I
an
think it's
actual
going to
situation.
be, I think future people will thank us, because this is the problem with lawmakers in government. They don't think of consequences, they just get stuff through, and people get mad later. The other thing I just wanna say really fast is, what happens when the district decides that a lawyer is the parliamentarian?
I don't think it makes any difference.
So does it make any difference?
The district shouldn't be doing that to begin with.
They do.
But-
But
but-
but they're supposed to, their role is supposed to be, as was just stated, to be arm's length.
Because you just said the, what do you call it, the vice chancellor, and or designee, so the designee could be a lawyer.
It could be.
No, I'm
Yes,
just asking,
Yeah.
just asking questions.
Yeah, no, I'm not taking it as an affront. I'm just, no, you're right. A designee could be an attorney. But again, their role is not to have any control over the committee or what the committee
They're
does.
just interpreting Robert's rules.
Yeah, just interpreting. That's it. They shouldn't be saying you can or can't do this. They can point out violations, yes, but they're not supposed to be telling the committee on how it should be governing itself.
Well, it's advisory.
It's an advisory.
It's
yeah,
advisory
an
on the
advisory
rule.
Because, I mean, it also depends on, and excuse me, I'm sorry.
No, that's
Yeah,
right.
like who the person is looking to listen to. Crowley was more than willing to listen to the vice chancellor when it came to advisory, his advice, as versus if it came from somebody else. So I mean that it all depends on who's there. So and that gets back into the weeds of okay, well, do they have an attorney advising on Robert's rules as in the role of a parliamentarian? Well, why doesn't the CBOC have their own attorney?
Yeah, I'm not getting into that.
Yeah, so, but no, but I mean, it's, but okay, but
I
it's,
just
but
want to
it
know the
is raising the
definition of a
question.
parliamentarian, that's
Right,
all.
okay.
That's all I'm asking for right now.
Okay.
And
I'm not expanding it.
I mean, and I think honestly, this committee shouldn't have to have an attorney here, and I would question, well, we had an attorney.
I'm not bringing that up.
And well, I am.
That is dead. That died.
Well, no, here's the reason why, because it's coming out of some fund.
I-
And
Yeah,
if
it's fine.
it's coming out of the bond
Yeah,
funds,
yeah.
we don't need to spend a
Okay.
nickel.
All right, Ben, did you have another point?
I think it was the attorney question, but that's still considered a parliamentarian or not. Because they don't work, well, they're not an employee of the district. They're an agent of the district.
Can be.
Oh, and I see what you mean. I mean,
So
when
I'm just
John Palmer was
getting
here.
into
Yeah,
Just asking,
okay,
just asking questions.
okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Oh,
So to your point, there's a difference between having an attorney-client relationship and advising that person versus giving general knowledge. You don't have an attorney-client relationship. It's just that you have a person who, attorneys explain statutory law all the time. That doesn't mean they have an attorney-client relationship with the person they're explaining it to. It just says and you can reject their explanation if you don't like it. Just that amongst all of us, we needed somebody to explain it, right? Which is where John Palmer showed up.
and I want more control. I want to, sorry.
No, go ahead, no.
Comment, if you don't mind. So, for me, this is my opinion as one person, but I'm in general in favor of this, so thank you for the work. Now, again, going back to the interpretation and the exercise of it, if I was chair, because I've sat on, many of us have sat on different committees and not-for-profits and government and all that stuff. I've sat through many meetings where I don't want to hear what somebody's saying, and we don't have a choice. But if you're appointed or elected or whatever you want to do with your 5 minutes is whatever you do with your 5 minutes, in my opinion. And even if you repeated yourself, but if you repeated yourself, that's because you believe strongly in whatever your constituency is that you're representing. And I'm representing, friend of the district or at large or the retirees or the taxpayers or whatever you're doing here, right? We all got here by some means. And so that's what we feel passionate about. And so if I decide that I want to repeat myself, because I'm trying to really convince, I can see that Andrea is like on the fence, maybe she'll go with me. I might repeat myself, and I'll just be blunt. I would rather the chair not cut me off, because that hurts my feelings, because I still have feelings, even if I look like I have a poker face. And I just think that we are here, we each are important in our own rights, and we're here for a reason, and we showed up with bad traffic, and we should be able to have our 5 minutes. At least at the rent board, like I sat on the rent board for 15 years. Everybody gets 5 minutes, and whatever you want to do with it, even if you waste it, that's your problem. You get your
Yeah.
15 minutes of fame and then you're done. You don't get, unless the committee votes for more. So I just think people should be able to say their piece because we're all, in my opinion, equal.
Right.
And that's here.
Well, that's not what I heard from another committee
No,
member.
that's what I said, but I think what we also.
I heard that if there's repetition, that it could be cut off during the 5 minutes.
Yeah, then, well.
And I heard you say that you don't agree with that, and neither do I.
Yeah, I don't.
So I'm hoping, I don't like the fact that this also could be interpreted as a cutoff for committee members for repetition, because repetition might be that some arguments do require repetition.
Yeah.
Sorry, they do.
Right. No, and that's why I said the chair should not be.
Right, Scott, even if you don't
People
agree with what's
Yeah.
being repeated.
Yeah.
Obviously, the person repeating it thinks that that's
Yeah,
what they
they feel
want.
strongly about it. No, I understand that, and that's why I clarified that, and if the language here needs to reflect that, I'll make sure that, and then we can.
For me, if you are appointed to this committee and if you guys want to adopt this and it's 5 minutes, 5 minutes, 5 minutes to have organization, I agree. I think these meetings got really out of hand and people talked way too long and there was a lot of things. And so, yes, I agree with structure, but how people decide as committee members that were appointed, what they do with it is their business.
So let me ask you a question, then. If we struck repetitive, do you have any problem with combative or disrespectful?
Yes, no, that, yes. But I mean, obviously that's, no, sorry.
Yes to what?
Yeah.
Yes, striking repetitive would make it.
Okay, not repetitive, yes.
Would make it
Okay.
better.
Now, the other one obviously is interpretation, but I think, obviously like swear words and all that other stuff. So that obviously is the discretion of the chair, but that's why you're the chair. So obviously, people shouldn't be elected chair if they're not gonna be good at discretion. So I would leave those, yes, but I would hope that the chair would be, magnanimous with that to a certain extent. But, yeah.
Yeah.
Because
Well, this Jerry, what
there
happened
is
is
free
that we
speech.
asked people to, please, could you rephrase about what you're about to
Yeah.
to
I
say?
would just take out.
Jeremy, that's the phrase I've used in the, could you mind rephrasing that, please?
Okay, the only reason I'm saying that is because people at my work say that I'm repetitive, and so I probably would get cut off just because I am repetitive in general.
No, when I looked at this, it's not meant to like, okay, repetitive, okay, well, I'm choice of words, but what I meant to say, it's like just repeating the same point in a manner that is calling out other committee members.
That's disrespect.
In a disrespectful way.
That's disrespect.
Calling out members of staff in a disrespectful way.
Yep.
That's what and it keeps happening over and over. That's repetitive to me. So that's.
But
Yeah.
but I think the disrespect is good enough.
Okay,
If it happens the first time, you can cut it off, because you can just say that's enough. I was in one meeting one time where I hate to say this, I did it, where I was disrespectful, and the chair said, that's enough, and cut me off. And by the way, I deserved it. I deserved it, and I never forgot it, because, I was disrespectful.
I mean, just to the point, I mean, when Terrell and I were just sitting up here having nearly a shouting match with Crawley. That's
disrespectful.
That's disrespectful. That should have been, and Chair Campbell did eventually cut us off, but it shouldn't have escalated to that point, and that could have been resolved by him not opening up with a preamble of a slew of what he thought should have been added to amendments to the report.
It's interesting, well, I know, is this recorded, is this public?
yes, it is.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm just gonna say that what's happening out there is that what's really interesting is we are going in the other direction of public discourse, where anything is allowed and everything goes, and I think that is a horrible way that public discourse should happen. I think that what we are doing today is the way the US Congress and our city council and everything should be going, because what's happening is a lot of disrespect and it's not helping us. So this is helpful to this committee, and it could be a model for a lot of other government.
Yes,
Thank you.
that's great, okay, yes.
So my question is, so this isn't information tonight, but if there were a few changes made to this, tweaks, I'll call it. And is it going to come to the June meeting as for approval?
Yes,
Okay,
right,
because,
That was the
okay,
that was the whole point, right, yes.
because I term out
When?
June.
Well, this is the
Okay.
year.
Well, yeah, well, I think it should be done in June, and we should have some other things on the agenda for June, which is maybe like a look at summer construction and what's going forward now. And maybe an opportunity to like visit a site, like might be on the agenda. These are ideas, but, so it's just not this that we come to a meeting for in June.
Okay.
Because we've adopted the annual report, okay? And so, and then you take the summer off, which is what's in the work plan.
Mhm.
Just an
Yes, so I
idea,
think,
but I think we need to adopt.
for code, we should be able to
Well,
get this
yeah.
for June, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Then Amy, would that give you enough time to kind of give us a look into the summer schedule about what's planned?
Yep, absolutely.
And even in June, to adopt it, as long as it's on the agenda, you can make friendly amendments to it and still adopt it.
Yes.
So we could still do that, even if there's a few more tweaks in June.
Yeah, if we have to, sure.
Did you do this?
I was studying up on, I went through, the Brown Act to see what I could find as far as like manners of decorum.
Did you start this from scratch?
Yeah.
This is really good.
Thank you.
I'm in shock,
I
actually.
just, it took a while, and I really thought that Chair Campbell was
So
going
here I
to.
am tearing it up. I apologize.
And this is just coming in, this is my first time on any type of committee, so.
You're wonderful.
Yeah, good job.
Resume stuffer.
Yeah.
Second one.
Yeah, there you go.
All right,
Yeah.
is there any other discussion? I think we have our marching orders. So we'll check off number 5, and we are left with item number 6 at 6:56 PM, and that is the adjournment of the meeting. So thank you all for attending this evening, and we'll see you all in June.